Welcome, everybody. It is episode 12 of the Off the Wall Hockey Show, which is pretty wild to think about that we're already 12 episodes in and deep into this current NHL season. And as you can see, I am joined, per usual, with the great Steel Flyers, as Steel is with me here again as my co-host again tonight, and we are excited for another huge NHL show to talk to you all about today, as we've got plenty of going on as the season rolls along in the NHL. Before we get into it, I do want to say that this is part of the Steel Flyers All Sports Network, and you can catch me and everyone else who's a part of Steel Flyers, Perlo, Peyton, Joe, Steel, Hockey Writers Inc., Flyers Nitty Gritty, all of it is available at www.steelflyers.com. We also want to give a huge thank you to our sponsor, K9 Country Club Resorts. You'll be seeing their commercial for CCC Resorts throughout the show tonight. We want to give them a huge thank you for everything that they do for us at Steel Flyers, and for sponsoring this show and everything that we do there on the website as well. So, Steel, we got another great episode of Off the Wall Hockey Show coming up tonight. Are you ready? How are you doing, man?
Oh, man, I'll tell you what. Every day gets a little better. We got a good report from the doctor today. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, man, starting to get a little bit better, getting a little bit better each day. So, and, you know, I'm going to tell you something, man. Hockey just gets better and better and better. I mean, I can't believe how awesome this season has been. I said in the very beginning, this was going to be some of the best hockey we've seen. And if you look at it, it's becoming record-breaking. We're seeing players like Austin Matthews get 21 goals so far.
Yep.
We're seeing players like Conor McDavid having almost 60 points and still have 20-some games to go.
It's unbelievable.
Right? We're seeing Ovechkin break a record every time he scores. I mean, this is just amazing hockey. So I'm ready, man. I don't know about you, but I'm ready to go.
Awesome. Well, that means it's time for top stories. And looking at the list here, we both have the same top story, so we might as well get into it. Over this past week, Ralph Krueger was fired by the Buffalo Sabres as the head coach and has been replaced by Don Granato. Obviously, this is not overly surprising news, and I said that in my video, given the fact that Buffalo has now lost 13 straight games, and generally head coaches don't last very long when you lose 13 straight games. I think Buffalo's problems go far deeper than just the head coach, but this was obviously the first of what's most likely to be many changes coming to the Buffalo Sabres, and I mean, I'm not surprised by it. I don't know how you feel about it, Steel, but I feel like this was coming, and this was pretty expected at some point, especially given the losing streak that they're on. But I certainly don't think that the coach was necessarily the main problem in Buffalo, as this team continues to struggle year in and year out, and this year certainly looked like the worst team in the league.
Is there something up there in the water, or is it because like the wings that they're eating or something?
I don't know what to say with the Sabres. I mean, it's been a decade now since they've made the playoffs.
You know, here's the other thing too that's kind of really blowing me away is that you're seeing players like Hall, Skinner, Eichel, some of which are not even in the lineup anymore. Because of injury or whatever the case is, that were supposed to be the core of this new team coming forward. And individually on their own, they are individually really good players.
Supposed to be.
Yep. But that's the key word there, is supposed to be. Well, they've pretty much put all their eggs in these three baskets, and these three baskets are turning out rotten eggs, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so now they're kind of stuck like Chuck. So it's much easier to fire a coach because he's cheaper, and it's easier to replace one guy than it is to replace 23 guys.
Yep.
So that's kind of what, I agree. I think that's what's coming. I think this was the writing on the wall. I mean, to be honest with you, though, I think what's going to end up happening is you're going to probably see ownership. Well, look, I don't know. Would it be something to gut this thing from the ground up. They have drafted relatively well. They've got some good prospects coming up.
It doesn't seem to matter what Buffalo does.
Like everything they touch turns into yuck.
Well, their issue is that, sure, they've gotten some individually talented players, but they haven't built a team. And
that's what I mean.
They still don't have a true number one goaltender. They still don't have a very good defense. They've added some, offensive guys, but I mean, look at Eichel's numbers. Look at Skinner. Skinner's been awful. I mean, that contract was terrible when it was signed. It looks even worse now.
Right.
Hall hasn't put up numbers this year. He's got a decent amount of assists, but he only has like 2 or 3 goals on the season. I mean, even their talented players aren't good. They're not playing well. So it seems like whatever Buffalo does is wrong. I think the issues with Buffalo go far further than the coach. I think, we have Kevin Adams as a rookie general manager in his first season as GM of this team. He hasn't even really had a chance to make his mark on this team yet. Problems with, the Pagulas have got to be one of the worst ownership groups in the entire NHL.
Okay, see, that's where you come into it right there.
It starts at the top with this team.
Yep, it has to. Because look, if you don't, I can only use examples of what I'm used to and what I've surrounded myself with. Mm-hmm. And the teams that I've surrounded myself with have been teams that over the years have had that stability in ownership.
Yep.
Okay, if you look at the Rooneys in football, and you look at Ed Snyder. with the Flyers, those owners, they always took care of their players, and now you just don't kind of see that anymore now, especially with ownership, and you get guys that think they know how to play hockey or how to run and how to do all the hockey operations and all that other stuff.
That's
and
it
really,
right there.
Really, they don't.
Yes, that's it right there.
And then they think they know what they're doing, and look what they're doing with their team. They overpaid for Eichel so he could stay in Buffalo. That's the only reason why I got $10 million, because let's face it, in the open market, he is not even worth nearly that kind of money.
It's not even Eichel's contract, it's Skinner's that is
That's
giving Jeff Skinner $9 million a year is an absolute joke. Like, that is a joke.
$19 million cap hit for 2 players. That's kind of ridiculous, don't you think?
I mean, you add in the Kyle Okposo contract, you add in, Sam Reinhart now, you add in, what is this team doing? And they continue to go with young, Krueger wasn't necessarily young, but Don Granato's another guy they bring in now on an interim basis who has very limited coaching experience. They continue to bring in GMs with very little experience, and Kevin Adams is a rookie GM now. This starts at the top, and I think the Pagulas think they know how to know about hockey and how to run hockey, and they don't at all. They're horrible owners. They're way too involved. The absolute best things that the Pagulas could do for the Buffalo Sabres is stay the heck out of it and let hockey people run your hockey operation, because you have proven over the past decade that you have no idea what you're doing.
Exactly.
So let hockey people run the hockey side of things, and that's not what they've done, and it continues to ruin this team. And the Buffalo Sabres fans, I can't imagine being a Sabres fan, because Buffalo fans are some of the most passionate, involved, and energetic fans in all of sports.
It's like Cleveland Browns fans.
It is, and they're watching a garbage product year in and year out because the Pagulas don't know how to run a team and don't let hockey people run the hockey operations. This team, in my opinion, needs a veteran GM, needs a veteran head coach, needs a veteran president of hockey operations, people who know what to do and how to run a hockey team, because that is not what Buffalo has had really at all in the past decade.
Okay, now, so let me throw something at you here now, because I was thinking about this the other day, and I'm thinking, man, there's a coach that's kind of sitting there that might not be a bad fit for this team. He's doing like some analyst work, and he works for the NHL Network, and he used to coach a certain Washington Capitals team. I mean, Bruce
Boudreau.
Yeah.
would be a perfect coach
Yeah.
to try and get this team at least into the playoffs within the next 2 to 3 years.
Or allow him and somebody that maybe he might have in mind as a general manager. You see what I mean?
If you want to give Kevin Adams a chance, I'm on board with that, because this guy this is his first year. He's not had an opportunity to really do anything with this team yet. So I can agree with giving Kevin Adams an opportunity and let him, at least have a couple of years to try and make some moves with this team.
Yeah.
They need a veteran head coach badly.
Yeah.
I 100% agree. Bruce Boudreau would be a great guy to bring in here for Buffalo and try and at least get this team headed in the right direction, because he's had a ton of regular season success everywhere he's gone in the NHL, whether it was Washington, whether it was Minnesota. I mean, he's taken teams to the playoffs year in and year out. Now, the knock against Bruce Boudreau is he's never won in the playoffs.
Right.
But Buffalo doesn't need to win in the playoffs. They just need to freaking get there. They just need to get there.
They just need to win some games.
Yes. I think Boudreau would be a great option for coach of this team. Now, the other thing that has come up in just talking about people with this is, do any of these veteran guys want to go to Buffalo? Do they have to keep doing young, inexperienced head coaches and young GMs because no one else wants to go there because they know what a dumpster fire it is? I think they could have trouble getting a guy like that.
Okay, I do see what you mean by that. However, if you just step back and look at this from, say, a hockey perspective,
yes,
you have some talent on this team.
You do.
I mean, you need some pieces. You need a goaltender.
You need a goalie badly.
You need a number one goalie, and there are some out there that very well may become available. But, hey, maybe not during the trade deadline, but maybe in the offseason.
Yep.
That might not be a bad fit for Buffalo, at least for foreseeable 2-3 years.
At least for a year or two to settle things down.
Yeah. Just 2-3 year foreseeable future, just to get things rolling, get their prospects coming up, because they have drafted relatively well the last year or two. They got some pretty decent prospects.
They've got some talent and some prospects in that prospect pool.
Yeah. So, I mean, if they had the right coach who could try to put it all together and create a team instead of just having a bunch of talent out there skating around.
Yeah.
Because that's what Buffalo is right now. Could you imagine? I mean, without Buffalo being anything shy of a bucket of ice cold water, they would have the number one power play for how long? Now, granted, they didn't have, a whole lot of opportunities, but that just goes to show you the level of talent on this team.
When you look at that roster, they should be a lot better than what they are.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I mean. There's talent there.
There is, and there's young talent there, too.
Exactly. Cousins being one of them.
Cousins and Reinhart.
Oh, my gosh.
I mean, Eichel's been in the league, how long now? He's still only like 24.
Yeah, he's
young talent.
Yeah. I mean,
Darlene on the back end.
I'm with you. Like I said, there is some talent on this team. It's just they don't really have that coach that seems to put it together for them.
Yeah. To
make them a team, because they have shown some. I mean, with being in the power play and being able to play power play really well, and all that, even without a lot of Jack Eichel time being there, still having a pretty decent power play. I mean, that does say something about your team.
Ripper of a shot.
Yeah, I mean, they have some talent. So it could be just that right coach that comes in and takes care of business.
To me, they need to overhaul the defense. They need to find a goaltender, but there's building blocks there in Buffalo to build around. They got to get somebody who can build those blocks in the right way to build the full building without it falling down.
Okay,
because
right. But
now
that would be attractive to a coach.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think, this would be a great spot for a veteran coach who wants to prove how good of a coach he is to go and say, this is going to be a challenge for me. This is not me taking over, for a team that has it all figured out, and I'm just going to come in and take them, like when Peter Laviolette went to the Washington Capitals, like that's a good spot to go to with you already have a team in place that is a contender.
We call that a cushy job, even though it really isn't. But yeah,
but Reardon did a terrible job with those Caps teams for the past 2 years, and Laviolette gets to go in there and take on a team that is able to win a division and possibly go deep into the playoffs and contend for a Stanley Cup. This is not that kind of job. This is not taking over the Washington Capitals. Right. This is a challenge.
Yes.
This is a coach needs to go in here and say, this is a challenge. I am going to prove my worth as an NHL coach, and I am going to take this downtrodden, team that's finishing near the bottom of the league every year, and I am going to get them in the right direction, and I'm going to get them to the playoffs. And I think a guy like Bruce Boudreau would be a great guy to take on that because he's had a ton of regular season success in his NHL career.
And he brings a culture.
Yep.
He brings a culture, which is what they need.
Yep.
They need some character, and they need some culture. They need some defense, and they need some goaltending. I know that's a pretty hefty list, but it's not like it's not undoable. Yeah. They've got a young GM there. They're going to have some pretty decent draft picks based off of their record this year. So they're going to – and the way that they changed – the lottery draft now. So depending on how badly Buffalo finishes, they're going to be at least in the top 3 slots as far as getting one of the top 3 players for next year, this upcoming draft.
In the top 3 for sure.
Right. So that right there is another top player, coming to the team. So, I mean, there is some prospects there. There is some talent on the team, and that could be that could be enough of enough bait to pull out a Bruce Boudreau or a veteran coach to come out and coach this team.
You just got to check one box at a time if you're Buffalo. You know what you need. You can't fix it all at once. This isn't going to be you're not going to go from being last in the league to being a Stanley Cup contender in one off season. You got to check one box at a time. You got to get a veteran coach in there who knows what he's doing and can get the most out of this team. You got to find a goaltender. You got to fix that defense. That defense is a joke. You need depth. You still don't have nearly enough depth anywhere. I mean, any facet of the game. Offense, defense, goaltending, you do not have enough depth. But you can't fix all that at once. You've got to check one box at a time. And I think getting a legitimate, real coach in there would be a good first step. Then, for me, the next step is to find a legitimate goaltender. Because Linus Ullmark is a decent goalie, and I think he can be a really good 1B, but he is not a guy who's going to carry your team and be a franchise goaltender. Exactly. Carter Hutton doesn't even belong in the league anymore. Marcus Johansson, or what's his name? Johansson, the third goaltender, the young kid that's up now, he's a kid. He's a kid.
Very young. Very young.
You're not going to be able to rely on him to win games. You got to take this one step at a time. Goaltender and a real head coach, I think, are the 2 big things that Buffalo needs to get done. And then you will start to see some strides in the right direction. And then you can build off of that and start trying to fix those other things as well.
That's kind of funny. That's what New Jersey did.
Yep.
He went out and got a coach. They're trying to get some goaltending. They've had some number 1 draft picks.
Mackenzie Blackwood, I think, is the real deal as far as goaltending is concerned.
Okay. So, I mean, there's another coach that came in and did it with New Jersey. Look
Lindy
at where
Ruff,
New Jersey was.
Coach.
But look at where New Jersey was before he came in. They were scraping the bottom of the barrel. I mean, it's going to take them another year, I think. But boy, do they look dangerous.
They look a lot better. They're much more competitive this season than they were last season.
Exactly.
They're still a 7th place team. They're still not winning a ton of games, but they're more competitive. They're headed in the right direction, and they have a lot of young talent coming up. They're going to add to it this draft with another, pretty high pick, and they're trending upward. The New Jersey Devils are trending upward. That is what the Buffalo Sabres need to strive for. Absolutely.
Exactly. And that for Buffalo would be a win.
Yep.
Just to trend upward in anything. Okay, whatever, but all right. I think we kind of have a bit of I guess we could probably combo our next top story here, because it does kind of dovetails together as one big thing.
It ties together, yes. COVID has not gone away.
No, nope. And it's really unfortunate that the last couple of games, the Rangers coaching staff has been unavailable, and some of their general managers and some of their upper management have not. Go ahead.
They've had 2 coaches from Hartford come up.
Yeah.
To coach behind the bench, and they've had Chris Drury, who's actually the assistant GM and former Ranger player, come down and have to be an assistant coach behind the bench because their regular coaching staff is all in COVID protocol.
Exactly. And from what I completely understand is that they will remain in COVID protocol for this weekend.
Yes.
For the New York Rangers.
Yep.
And that kind of dovetails into kind of yours, because there's been a number of Bruins players that have come out.
Yep.
Yeah, and
we
some
got
games
breaking
are now
news
being
today.
Yep. Go.
Yeah, we got breaking news today. The Bruins. So before, we'll have to go back to yesterday. The Bruins played the Sabres last night. And before that game started, early in the morning, there were COVID issues. Buffalo had a member of their hockey operations, we don't know who. Somebody went into the COVID protocol for Buffalo. I can't say that they tested positive because that doesn't necessarily mean that, but they went into the COVID protocol. Then we found out right after that Boston had a player go into the COVID protocol. That player turned out to be Sean Corrali. Okay. There was a lot of talk that game would get postponed and that they wouldn't have played last night. But then after doing contact tracing and all of this, whatever the league's protocols are, they decided to go on with the game anyway. The Bruins and the Sabres played last night. Then today, 4 more Bruins end up on the COVID protocol list, and they end up postponing tomorrow's game against Buffalo and Tuesday's game against the New York Islanders. And the earliest that the Bruins will be back to be able to practice is on Wednesday, and then maybe they play on Thursday. We don't know.
Yeah.
But now all of a sudden they decide to play the game last night, and now 4 more Bruins are in the COVID protocol, and they're having games postponed now. And that was the breaking news today, is that Boston will not play tomorrow and will not play on Tuesday. At least it could go further than that. Depending. And that's just the overall arching story here, is that while COVID has certainly gotten a lot better, there's a lot less postponements than there were, say a month ago. There's a lot less people on the COVID list than there were a month ago. We're still not completely out of it yet, and it is still having its effect on the NHL.
Exactly. And with the staff of the Rangers being out as well too, and not being able to coach, and then having some of the other coaches come in from the other teams, and from their other points of wherever they were able to bring some assets to come in and help coach the team. So this is all based off of now the NHL has the new rapid testing. Excuse me. And so I think this is where you're starting to see some of these ramifications, because in the past, say 2 weeks, we've seen a player go on the list and then come back off in a day.
Crosby did it. Charlie Coyle did it for Boston.
Fleury did it.
Fleury did it. There's been a lot of them that have been on for like a day and then just come right back off.
Because of false positives.
False positives are an issue for sure.
Here's the other thing too. And this is one of the things we're not going to know. If they're still doing, even though they weren't necessarily testing positive for COVID, they were in contact with somebody who did. Mm-hmm. So that means that person is going to be in the protocol.
Yep.
Okay. So because they were exposed.
Yep.
So they may not have tested positive, but they potentially were exposed because hey, your locker's next to the guy who just did.
Yep.
Or whatever. Or you were in the training room with the guy who tested positive. I mean, you see where I'm going with that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So that's what I think is going on here with some of this stuff. Okay. And the fact that they've added the new rapid testing, which is not as accurate
as the regular test.
Yep. So that's what I think is going on here. They're giving them the fast test, and then they're getting a positive, and then maybe they're giving them the other test. You know what I mean?
Yeah. just in the past couple weeks, there's been a lot of false positives in the NHL.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's what's going on, where they give them the fast test and it comes up as positive, and then the next day or whatever, how long they have to wait, and then they take the test again with the long test,
Mm-hmm.
the more accurate one, and then you get those results back in 2 days. Well, you have to be in the protocol for those 2 days or however long it takes for that results to come back.
Yeah,
so you might miss a game, or you might miss a day, or you might be on the protocol list for a day or two. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and we haven't had games postponed in a while. These two Bruins games are the first ones in a while that we've had actual games postponed. So it seems things are getting a lot better. Things seem to be completely under control, and then all of a sudden now we've got this whole Bruins thing happening. But
maybe they should not have let the game go on.
Well, that's the thing is should they have played last night? There was a lot of talk yesterday morning about that game being postponed and them not playing because they had people from each team going onto the list, and then they end up playing, and now we find this out this morning. There's no way to really know, not publicly why. What exactly happened with these 4 tests and why there's so many being added, or if it's a direct result of last night's game, or if they were going to test positive anyway, and it happened before that, and they're just testing positive now, so we're just finding out. There's no way to fully know that.
Exactly, and they're not at liberty to tell us, and they're not gonna.
No, and again, with these 4 people on the list, we don't know if they've tested positive. We don't know if they actually have it, or if it's a contact thing, if it's an exposure, or if it's maybe 2 of those 4 tests were false positives, and they come back tomorrow and they're like, actually, that there weren't that many. But we don't know. That's the thing, is so much about this that we don't know, and we're probably not going to know. But it's been a while since we've had a game postponed because of COVID. We've had more recently, we've had games postponed because of weather.
Yeah.
Bad weather, and teams not being able to travel.
Or no electricity.
Yeah, Dallas
in the building because,
Dallas was when they had their huge winter storms down there, they had no power, and there were all sorts of issues there. And then LA and St. Louis had a game postponed because LA couldn't travel out of Colorado because there was a blizzard. Yeah, they had a blizzard up in Denver. So weather has been more of an issue over the past 2-3 weeks than COVID has been. Yeah. But now COVID's come back this week, and we've got games postponed now because of it for the first time in a while, and that's a good reminder that while things are getting significantly better around the country and around the world, and things have been pretty good in the NHL recently, we're not completely out of the woods yet, and that it still is here and will be disruptive in some way.
Well, I think we're gonna okay, look, I'm gonna preface this with, I'm not a doctor. I have no experience in any of this field at all, but this is just my opinion, and my opinion only. I feel that at some point, society, the world, and everybody's going to have to come to the conclusion that this is not going to go away, and we're not going to get to a 0 number. Mm-hmm. And we're going to have to just get to the point where if you get sick, you stay away. You get tested, you stay away, and that's how it's going to have to be. Okay? Mm-hmm. It's just like anything else. You get the flu, you get sick, you stay home. Mm-hmm. Okay? We don't need you out there spreading the love.
Yeah, that's for
okay. Sure. I mean, look, that's how it's just going to have to get to that. That's just, like I said, this is just my opinion. I think it's going to have, especially now that more and more people have been vaccinated.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Huge.
That's the other thing too. And
the
so
vaccine,
now, as time goes on, it's going to get to the point where you're either going to get the flu shot or you're going to get the COVID shot, and you're just going to have to continue to move on, because you cannot keep closing things down because of people getting, you know what I mean? It's like I said, this is just my opinion. Okay. And I think at some point, everybody's going to have to get to the point where you're going to have to be like, look, I'm not trying to take anything away from anybody that has had COVID. I personally have been touched by this disease. I know of people that have had it that are very close to me, and I've seen what this disease can do. I've seen people that have died from it as well too. Okay, so I'm very, very, very well aware of the dangers and everything like that of what's going on here with this. Okay, but the flu and some of the strands of the flu are more deadly or just as deadly. So you don't shut everything down when somebody gets the flu. You just tell them to stay home, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's just how it goes. And I think that's what we're going to have to get to the point here on this whole COVID situation. Okay, I'm sorry about that.
I think that's what's coming once the vaccine is available to everybody. That's where we'll be at, is that you go out, you get the COVID shot like you get the flu shot if you want it, and it's just going to be another sickness that's out there. But once the vaccine is readily available and they have enough doses to where they can fill the demand for the doses, which we're still a little short of now, but we're getting there. I know in my state, up in Massachusetts, I think in April, they're opening up to all adults in April. So right now, it's only certain ages and people with pre-existing conditions, and it's limited to what they can give out now or who can get it right now. But by next month, it's going to be available to all adults. So as it becomes more readily available, it's gonna, Massachusetts is going into phase 4 of their opening, which is basically, getting the closest step to things being completely back to normal without things being completely back to normal. So we're now one step away from things being like they used to be. So as the vaccine comes out, you're going to see more and more people get it, and you're going to see it treated more and more as like, okay, like this is here. It is what it is, but we're going to go on living our lives with it. And we're getting closer and closer to that as the months go on here. And I think by the summer, I think you're going to see, it's out there, the vaccine's available, and you're going to see people living their lives.
That's what it's going to have to come down to. You're going to have to just be like, you just have to live your life, man. You know what I'm saying? They know how to treat it now. There's much better therapies. There's much better ways of taking care of things. You know what I'm saying? And so as more and more information comes out and more knowledge comes out, talk to your doctor. Don't do anything stupid. Be smart. You know what I mean? And do what you have to do in order to, protect yourself and everything like that. I just wanted to say that because I think that's what's going to have to come down to, because you start letting people into stands, and you can't have a stadium that's set to house 19,000 people on a regular basis and only allow them to have 3,000 people a night. You're not going to be able to sustain anything financially along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
100%.
Right. So, and with anything that has anything to do with sports, everybody knows that the best way to, or the only way, or the one of the best ways to pay for the sport is butts in the seats.
Yep.
Okay. So as soon as we get that, you know what I mean? All these TV deals and all that are all great, but it still looks really bad when there's nobody there yelling, screaming, and cheering.
Yeah. The league needs fans for sure.
Mm-hmm. So there you go. I think that takes care of our second top story. What do you think?
Yeah, well, speaking of doctors...
35 minutes in, we've only covered...
Well, we're actually on better pace than we normally are. Usually we take the whole first hour to get through these.
We still have more to talk about for
we got
stories.
A couple more to go, but these probably won't be super long. But speaking of doctors, Anders Lee, unfortunately, is going to be seeing a doctor. Not for COVID, but he very unfortunately tore his ACL for the New York Islanders, and this was a top story for me because this is a huge loss for the New York Islanders, and
it is.
This is a team that was in first place when it happened in the East Division. Now they've lost their last 2 games. They've fallen back to second place as Washington's taken over first. And Anders Lee is the captain. He's one of their best players. He's their emotional leader. This is a massive blow to the New York Islanders to lose Anders Lee. I mean, there's plenty of guys that it would certainly hurt to lose for New York, but Lee is up there as far as one of the most important players in that lineup. Exactly. And to have him now done for the year And
Yeah.
I mean, ACL we all know that it doesn't happen in hockey nearly as often as it does in football, but the
Right.
ACL is a major injury, and it's very difficult to
Well,
come back from, and you're out for a long time. So
the
very
injury, yeah, the torn ACLs are usually 9 to 10 month turnarounds.
Yeah, it's a little quicker for hockey for some reason. I think it has to do with running versus skating, but
Okay.
hockey it can be in 6 months.
Okay.
Yeah, because
I mean,
I think Zach Hyman tore his ACL for the Maple Leafs last year or 2 years ago, and he ended up coming back in like 5-6 months. It's for some reason medically, it's like it's easier to come back from with skating than it is with running or with cutting, like especially like the quick moves on turf. That's like harder
yeah,
on the
because
knee.
you don't really do that on skates, do you?
No, it's harder on the knee when you're like playing football than it is in hockey. So the
Okay.
hockey players can come back a little bit faster, but still, it's a major injury
Oh yeah.
and a long road back. A lot of therapy and building that muscle back up in the legs and
Sure.
building your knee back up to full strength. I mean, this is gonna be a long road back for Anders Lee, and wishing him all the best without a doubt.
Do you know, isn't it amazing? Uh, in my lifetime, okay, if you were playing professional sports when I was a kid,
Mm-hmm.
so when I was a kid, we're talking about early 70s,
Yep.
okay, um, if you had a torn ACL, you were done.
Yep.
And all the way up until you get to the late 80s, if you had a torn ACL, you were pretty much done.
Yep.
Okay. And then they started realizing, hey, and we can fix this and send you all back out there.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Now you get guys that tear an ACL, come back, tear the next one, come back,
Yep.
and they're good. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Medicine has advanced for sure.
Exactly. So that's kind of the good thing about that. Where back in the day, they used to cut on either side of your knee to open up your knee so they could get in there and fix a torn meniscus.
Mm-hmm.
Now they go in there with a little scope.
Yep.
You're backing up on your feet again in 2-3 days.
Yeah.
Or a week, whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Back when I played football in high school, there was a kid that tore his meniscus, and he was only out for like 2-3 weeks, and he was already back. And there was another kid who actually, I was a sophomore and he was a senior. He played his entire senior season basically with a torn ACL because it was like the second game of the season. He fully tore it, and they were like, well, it's already torn. You can't like do anything worse to it. It's already gone. Yep. So they put this brace on his knee that basically held his leg together, and he played the rest of his senior season with a torn ACL, and then just got the surgery after football season ended. And it was like a blown out knee used to be like your career was in jeopardy, and now they can fix it and you're right back out there, or you can even potentially play with it and then just get the surgery after the season, depending on how the injury is.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so, but it is a blow though,
because
it is their captain, it is their emotional leader, and he was visibly absent in the game against the Flyers.
Yep.
Because he was a key factor in helping them beat the Flyers last year during the playoffs.
Yep.
Okay. And so it seems like the Flyers are taking advantage of the fact that he's not in the lineup and have been able to,
absolutely
to win that game. But this is a big blow for them. This is going to hurt. Does that maybe? I'm trying to look and see here. They have, they can't really go do nothing. They have no cap space.
So they put Lee on LTIR. That will open up his contract amount, and they would be able to use at the trade deadline.
So they got $7 million.
Yeah, that opens up the Islanders to potentially make a big move at the deadline.
And with Boychuk on the list too, that gives them $13 million in LTIR money. $13 million.
Wow. So.
And we know for a fact that Anders Lee is at least going to be out until next season.
Oh yeah, he's done for this year. Absolutely.
So, could you imagine?
They could go out and they could get a big fish. They could go big game hunting at the deadline and really pull someone in.
that could be bad. Oh, that could be bad, especially if you're a Boston or Flyers or.
And Taylor Hall's on a 1-year contract, so you don't have to worry about it beyond this year.
That just changed the whole dynamic of the East right there. That one player goes out.
I wonder if it what the balance is to getting this cap space that you can now use at the deadline versus losing your captain and emotional leader of the team. I still feel like this is a bad thing for the Islanders.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it is because, your captain goes down. I mean, come on.
They could pull the biggest fish in the sea at the deadline. I still think this is a bad thing for the New York Islanders.
But they could soften the blow.
Absolutely.
If they were to bring in a Gaudreau or pick somebody. I don't care.
Yeah. If they brought in Johnny Gaudreau and Matt Barzal, I mean, they're pretty similar players, so I'd almost put them on different lines personally.
Right.
And I'd have Barzal anchor the top line and put Gaudreau on the second line, and your top six is deadly at that point.
That right there puts you over the top, I think. I mean, it's going to stink that you don't have your emotional leader, but you just added somebody in there with enough talent to take care of it. So, all right. Yeah, I think that changes the whole dynamic right there. Woo! Yeah. Wow.
Still a big loss though for the Isles not to have Anders Lee, and certainly wishing him the best and a full and speedy recovery from a pretty significant injury, and hopefully he's back for next season and able to go and play a full strong year for the Islanders next year for sure.
Yeah. That would be hopeful. You know what I'm saying? Because he's 30. And they have him signed until 25, 26.
Yeah, they locked him into a long-term deal.
So, for sure.
Luckily, knee injuries are a lot easier to come back from now than they were even just 10 years ago. Their medicine is moved to the point where most guys are able to come back from this and be the same level of player that they were after the surgery than they were before.
Exactly. I mean, there's two perfect examples of that, and all you have to do is look at Adrian Peterson.
Oh, he's such a beast physically.
But he blew out his knee.
Yep, and he was back in like 5-6 months. Like he was insane in the weight room and everything coming back. I remember that when he tore his ACL when he was with the Vikings, and he was the best running back in the NFL at the time.
And he didn't just tear his ACL. He tore his MCL, too.
Yeah, he shredded his knee.
He totally blew everything out. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And he came back like an absolute animal and was still one of the best running backs in the league.
He's still playing, man.
Yeah.
Okay, so there you go. He's the guy still playing, right? So that's all you have to say. Yep. Speaking of players, and you had a player as your third top story. I have a player as my third top story, and I know you're going to appreciate this because you and I both love giving goalies love.
Yep.
And we're talking about the goalie from Tampa Bay Lightning. Oh my gosh,
Vassy.
10 wins in a row.
Yep.
Wow. I mean, I don't even know what else to say other than wow.
He's the Vezina frontrunner right now.
Do you think?
Yeah.
I mean, gosh, it's either him or the dude from freaking.
It's him or Fleury.
Fleury.
Yeah, him or Fleury are the top two.
You might even sprinkle in Varlamov, maybe.
He would be my third guy, but I think it's a 2-horse race.
All right, I'm with you.
Between Vassy and Fleury.
But. Okay, all right, I got you. Yeah. I'm with you. But
Vassy's still nuts this year.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
So, oh my gosh, and the fact that it's kind of funny that Tampa Bay kind of was sagging there for a little bit, and then suddenly. Well, they're not.
The games that they lost to recently, McElhaney was in net. Tampa needs a real backup goalie. Like every game that McElhaney plays, he gets lit up and they lose. And then when Vassy plays, I mean, they 10 in a row.
They crush. Exactly. So
they need a real backup.
It seems they may be in the market for a goalie too.
Yeah, potentially. They just have no money. Like, Tampa's cap situation is brutal. I mean, they're obviously going to keep Kucherov on LTIR until the end of the season, and he'll come back in the playoffs when, I guess, like, the way that the cap works is, I guess, if you come back in the playoffs, like, cap doesn't count or something like that. So, like, his $9.5 million isn't, like, Tampa's not just going to be over the cap when he comes back in the playoffs. Like, he can just come back, which is why a lot of fans are mad about that, because they're basically saying that Tampa is circumventing the salary cap by just keeping him out the entire regular season and then having him come back in the playoffs. But that's a whole story in amongst itself. There's plenty of people in the hockey world are writing about that right now. There's a big controversy going on with Tampa and their cap and what they're doing. It's all legal by the rule book, so if you want to complain, don't complain about the Lightning, complain about the rule book and the league allowing it. But
this was put in place when the new CBA was signed, and everybody agreed to these rules. And, look, I akin this to, if you look at Formula One, okay, and Formula One states that you have to have I'm just using arbitrary numbers.
Yep.
You have to have a 2.3 liter engine. It's only allowed to have 10 cylinders, blah, 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 blah. But it doesn't necessarily tell you where to put it.
Yep.
It doesn't necessarily tell you what angle you have to put it at.
Mm-hmm.
But you see what I mean?
Yep.
It's what is your interpretation of the rule?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the rule states that I'm not allowed to be over the cap during the regular season. Okay. And we're not. We're in compliance.
Yeah.
And when that rule is no longer needs to be enforced, I just so happen to have a player coming off of an injured reserve.
Yep.
That is ready to go now, and we're in the playoffs, so it doesn't count.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think they need him anyway?
I mean, they're the best team in the league without him. This is what's crazy about the Tampa Bay Lightning, and what's crazy to think about is that they do not. Nikita Kucherov is the best right wing in the NHL.
Agreed.
He is the best right wing in the NHL.
Yeah.
The Tampa Bay Lightning do not have the best right wing in the NHL in their lineup that normally is there, and they are still the best team in the league.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay is a super team by NHL standards.
Let me throw something at you. What if they tried to move him? Do you think they would?
I think they'd move Stamkos before they moved Cooch.
Really?
Yeah. I think they'd move Stammer before Cooch.
They both have no movement clauses, but
yeah,
they're
not going. I don't think they're going anywhere. They're not going anywhere. But I think they'd move Stammer before they moved Cooch.
Okay.
I think Nikita Kucherov is maybe I don't like comparing defensemen to forwards, so I don't want to say that Nikita Kucherov is the best player on the Tampa Bay Lightning, because you could say Victor Hedman is. Nikita Kucherov is the best right wing in the NHL.
That's
Victor
what I would say.
Hedman is the best defenseman in the NHL.
Right.
I also think that Andrei Vasilevsky is the best goaltender in the NHL.
Right now, yeah.
All on the Tampa Bay Lightning.
It's like, gosh, you just keep rattling off the top names from the league, and it's like, oh.
But I would say Cooch is better than Stamkos at this point. Stammer's been severely hampered by injuries over the last few years. Kucherov is, elite. Elite as it gets. And younger, absolutely. So, if I'm the Lightning, I'm keeping Kucherov over Stamkos.
Okay. I was just curious because that might be something that they do.
Yeah. They'd have
they're going to need to do something after this year because
I could do a whole show on the Tampa Bay Capitals. Let me tell you, the Lightning. Yep, go ahead.
That sounds like a special off the wall hockey episode.
Yeah, they it does. The Lightning better be all in on a Stanley Cup this year. Because it's blow up time after this. Like they just money wise cannot keep all of these players. So
exactly.
You're gonna see some significant roster changes after this year to the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Exactly, and that's kind of what I'm talking about. But the fact that we got this goalie that has been able to win this many games and playing on such a team that, look, we don't really we all kind of feel that Tampa Bay is going to probably be in the thick of it, at least in the end.
Oh yeah, they should absolutely be at least going deep into the playoffs, if
Agreed.
not
Yeah.
winning again. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we definitely feel that they can win out of their division.
Yeah, I mean that division's been so surprisingly good this year.
Exactly.
I think there are teams that could give them a run for their money. I think Carolina is not going to be an easy out in the playoffs. Even Florida.
Right.
I mean, Florida's been so much better this year than I thought they were going to be. Now, I do think Tampa would win a playoff series against the Florida Panthers.
Yeah, I think so too.
Carolina, I think could legitimately give Tampa a run for their money there.
I agree. I would probably go. Oh, that would be a tough one, because if Carolina gets up, then they might be able to continue. Then they might be able to, you know what I mean?
If Carolina were to somehow win game one of that series, things would tighten up real quick.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
If Tampa Bay came out and won like 7-2 or 5-1, whatever, something like that, then it's going to be a long series. Well, short series, but you get what I mean, though.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm with you on that. But the fact that we're getting this record play out of players this year, and we're playing hockey. I mean, there's games every night, not just one, but some nights there's 12, 13, 14 games a night.
Yep.
Every night now this is getting to be. I mean, gosh, we're so spoiled with all this hockey. What's going to happen when we have to wait 2 or 3 days to see a freaking hockey game?
Well, that won't be coming till late in the playoffs, because even the first couple rounds, there's hockey every night. So.
No. I mean, next year, right, when we go back to every 82 game season and everything like that, and there's going to be like nights during the week where there's not going to be any hockey.
No, there'll be games pretty much every night. The schedule's much more spread out. So like certain teams don't play every other night or every night like they are now.
If you want to watch your team,
if you want to watch your team, then you're gonna have
wait a couple nights.
You're gonna have 2 night breaks and stuff like that. Absolutely. League wide, there'll be hockey every night, but your team won't be playing, every other night like they are right now. Yeah, the schedule will be back to normal and a little more spread out.
Right.
Which I'm sure the players are probably happy about.
Yeah, you think?
Yeah.
Because look, here's the thing that's really been, and I know we're kind of getting a little bit off topic here, but here's the main thing here that's been going on. With teams playing like this, with this massively condensed schedule, there's no practice time.
Yeah, no, there's 100%.
And especially with Buffalo and Calgary and Montreal all getting new coaches halfway through the season.
And the coach has no time to implement a new system or really get much practice time at all. I mean, they have morning skates sometimes. I mean, a lot of times they're playing so often that they'll just not even do the morning skate because the players are tired already. And
exactly.
You're lucky when you get a good practice in.
Exactly. And so that's what I think is going to be the other major issue that's going to work itself out for next year, because teams are going to have apparently a more normal training camp and more
preseason and actual like a regular normal NHL start to the year, hopefully, which will be something that we haven't seen in a while given the state of the world for the last year plus now. It will be very interesting to see things actually like somewhat normal.
That's what I think is what they've already come out and said that they're going to start, in October, and they're going to have
October 13th, I think 13th? Is the target date, something around
full
there.
82 game season.
Full 82 games.
We
normal
last
divisions,
week,
normal schedule.
Oh gosh. Though, here's the thing, and we both love how they're taking the games and how they've scheduled the games this year, and how we would love to see this carry over next year with the scheduling.
Yep.
Instead of doing like a West Coast swing with, the Rangers going out and playing San Jose and LA and, Colorado and whatever, do little series with each of those teams and keep them out there for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of having them travel, Colorado one night, Vegas the next,
then
LA the next,
then
Arizona
San Jose,
the next,
then Arizona, yeah.
And then up to Calgary, then come on.
Yeah, we
really?
talked about this a lot last week. I'm a big fan of the mini series against teams, so you're not traveling as much. If you're gonna go play Arizona, go play them twice and get your season series done with. Like,
exactly.
And even within the division, like when Boston goes to Philadelphia, play them twice there. Like play them twice rather than having them traveling basically every day. Play Philly twice, then go to Pittsburgh. Play Pittsburgh twice. Then later in the year, Philly will come to Boston and they'll play twice rather than just playing once. And that the little mini series and cutting down on travel makes all the sense in the world to me. And that I don't think I'm never going to change my mind on that. That's one thing I would love to see them continue to do.
And you know what? You have utterly and completely 100% convinced me of that.
Mm-hmm.
I love that idea because I just hate the fact that the team will go out and travel 5,000 miles in less than a week and only play 3 teams.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
What? I know why they implemented it, and I know why they're doing it. They're doing it so that, Alex Ovechkin gets to play in every stadium.
Building, and Conor
and
McDavid.
Sidney Crosby gets to go
Crosby.
play, in every stadium.
Yeah.
Okay, so that gives each stadium an opportunity to sell out, make big bucks that night because Cindy's coming to town.
Yep.
Or whoever, the perfection line's coming from Boston, or whatever.
David coming in.
Yeah, Austin Matthews' train is running you over tonight. Okay, but that's kind of what I'm getting at. You know what I mean?
I just don't get the travel. You're an East Coast team. You travel to Minnesota, then to Vancouver, then to Vegas, somewhere like that, and you're traveling every other day, and you're traveling like thousands of miles on this plane in 1 week. It's like, go to Minnesota, play a couple of games. Go to Vancouver, play a couple of games. Cut down on the travel. That's just my big thing with it. And I like the teams playing each other multiple games in a row too, because it really builds that rivalry. And guys are sick of each other, and they're sick of seeing the same team over and over. And it builds that rivalry and builds the animosity up.
Exactly. And by that second, third, fourth game, you're not quite as willing to let things be bygones at that point.
Absolutely.
So I'm with you on that, my man, for sure. Man, I'll tell you what, dude. We did good.
Yeah.
Right? We cranked off some good top stories for tonight.
Yes. And went off topic and all got it in the first hour.
I think we're getting good at this, man. What do you think?
Yeah, no, for sure. And we're going to have one of our favorite segments coming up when we get back from this commercial break. Power rankings, top shelf.
Oh,
we get to look at the top shelf of the NHL.
Oh, man. And you know what? I think we're going to be talking about some of the same teams that we've already been talking about.
Oh, definitely.
Stay tuned.
But before we get there, we do want to give a huge thank you to Canine Country Club Resorts, our show sponsor here and sponsor at Steel Flyers All Sports Network. They do a tremendous job with dogs, cats, and other animals and everything that they do there at CCR Resorts, or CCC. Our resorts.
CCC Resorts.
CCC Resorts.
Yes. .com. Yep. Check them out. Yeah, for sure.
We're going to play their commercial for you here. So you'll get a great idea of what they do and the services they provide and everything that they do for everyone that is a client of theirs. So with that, here is their commercial.
Greetings. This is Steel Flyers from the Steel Flyers All Sports Network, and we have 2 very special guests. We are delighted to be joined by Tracy Musser and Nicole Howard from the Canine Country Club Resorts. Tracy and Nicole are both managers for CCC Resorts and work at the Windsor or at the club, one of 2 locations, both in Manheim, Pennsylvania. Congratulations on your 30th year anniversary of being in business. Let me start off by saying this. Steel Flyer stands behind this company 100%. Taking care of Steel Flyer's furry friend for the last 2 years now, and they are a one-stop shop for everything your furry friend needs. In fact, let's find out what our friends at CCC Resorts offer. Nicole, how are you today?
Good. How are you?
Doing great. Thank you. What are some of the great boarding services that you guys offer, and what do we have to do in order to get our furry friends taken care of when we are unable to travel with them?
Well, we like to bring everybody in for a tour first. That way they can see the behind the scenes, they can see where they stay, they can see where they play, and then we explain all of the fun things that we can add on to their reservation, whether it be one of our packages, either a nature walk, a ball time, or even a cuddle time.
Oh, wow, that sounds great. Boy, it sure sounds like a resort to me. So how are you today, Tracy?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Tracy, tell me, is it true that you guys have both an indoor and an outdoor pool at the Windsor location?
It is true. We've got one of each, so we're able to offer year-round swimming. The indoor pool is a great option for dogs who are swimming for therapy or rehab. It's got that sloped entry so they can wade into the water. Our outdoor pool is a little bit larger, and it's 4 foot deep the whole way across. And both of them are saltwater pools, so it's really easy on the dog's skin and coat.
Wow, that's very awesome. So then during the summer months, you have a much deeper pool outside and then a sloped entry shallow pool indoors for the dogs. Tracy, tell the folks how we can get some pool time.
Well, the first thing everyone does is come for an intro swim. We use that time to make sure the dog is comfortable in the water. We make sure they know how to get out of the pool safely, and we go over all the pool rules and etiquette with the clients as well. After that, they're able to schedule private appointments where they have the pool to themselves, or they can invite friends and have a whole group swim going on.
So after a dip in the pool, then it would have to be off to the groomers, right? I mean, our furry friends cannot go out looking their best. Nicole, what are some of the great services your top-notch groomers provide?
Our groomers, they specialize in full service grooms. We can do the basics, whether it be just a bath and a brush out or a blowout. Or for the extra pampered pooches, we can do nail dremels, we can do deodorizing soaks, and also facials.
Wow, man, that sounds like a resort if you ask me. Tracy, I know one of the main programs here at CCC Resorts is the WAGS program. The Steel Flyers dog is enrolled in this program. So why don't you tell the folks what is involved in this and how they can get enrolled?
Yeah, the WAGS program is our primary daycare option at the Windsor. It's designed to be a structured program for people who are looking for a set routine for their dog. They all come on the same days each week, which allows them to have set friends, and we know exactly what's going on with each group. So we do a little bit more activities, and we build more into their daily routine there. But we've got other daycare options as well for people looking for a little less commitment. We do an hourly care where you can drop them off and just pay by the hour. We also do a day stay option, which is great for the dogs that prefer human friends instead of making friends with other dogs. And then we have a traditional daycare option as well if you're looking for the occasional outing for your dog.
Wow, there you have it. A full-service groomer, a daycare program, and an indoor and outdoor pool. What more could you ask for? Sure seems like CCC Resorts has everything covered. Remember, DOG, depend on God.
And we are back, everybody, and it is time for one of our favorite segments of the entire show. It's time for Top Shelf, which is the power rankings, top 5 teams in the NHL
baby.
right now. This is always fun to talk about. We look at the best of the best in the league. So, Steele, are you ready to go for this one?
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I always like talking about the top shelf teams, man, because it gives us a chance to talk about the best in the league for this week. And we get to compare to what we had on our list from last week. So, you want to go first, my brother?
All right, yeah, I guess I'll start at number 5 here. My number 5 team in the NHL right now is the Vegas Golden Knights. They have a 26-1 record on the season. They've been playing really well as of late. A couple of big wins over the San Jose Sharks. They're one of their certainly biggest rivals. And Vegas is had a great year this year. I could not keep a 20-win team off of this list. So Vegas comes in at number 5 for me.
I'm with you on that. I agree. And Vegas has been kind of off and on the list this year for both of us.
Yep.
Okay. My number 5 team was the New York Islanders.
Okay.
I kept them at number 5. I had them number 5 last week. I kept them at number 5 this week. I know they lost 2 games. I know they lost Anders Lee, but until I start seeing them dropping way down there, I still have to put them on there because they still are a good team. And things might change for them where they might be buyers at the trade deadline because of trying to fill that gap
Yep.
You know what I mean? And they've just now suddenly been awash with some long-term IR money that they might be able to do something big. So even though they've only dropped their last two, I still have the New York Islanders at number 5.
All right, that makes sense. I had to drop them off just because I couldn't. Vegas is at 20 wins now, and I'm just like, I can't not have them on the list.
I was with you on that, and I was back and forth on that because I looked at the 20 wins and I was like, oh man,
There's another team that's been on this list a lot for me that is not on it this week, and looking at your list, it's not on yours as well. That has dropped off as well, and it's just because there's so many good teams right now.
I know.
Cutting the list down to 5, this would be a lot easier if it was a top 8. But cutting it down to 5 is really, really difficult.
It's tough, man, and I know who you're talking about.
Yep.
I know exactly who you're talking about, right? And for last week, I had them at number 4, but they have completely dropped off. Mm-hmm. My number 4 team for this week is the Carolina Hurricanes, 27-2. Man, they have just been playing against the top teams in their division and winning.
Yep.
And not just, winning, but winning convincingly. They're out shooting. They're getting power play goals. They're getting contributions from every line. They're getting good goaltending. I mean, this is a Rod Brindamore team that's believing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's who my number 4 team was for this week. They dropped a little bit from last week. I had them a little higher last week, but they dropped to number 4 for me, but they still stay on the list at number 4. So, Johnny, who's your number 4?
Yeah, my number 4 is the Washington Capitals. They are 19-6-4 on the season. They are now leading the East Division, and they've been playing really, really well as of late. So, Washington is climbing the ranks for me. They've looked really, really good. They're winning a lot of games, and they look like a really strong contending team, like we thought they would be this year. And
exactly.
Ovechkin's scoring goals now. He continues to climb the all-time goal-scoring ranks. They're getting good play out of all 4 forward lines. Their defense is holding together well. The young goaltending they have has done a decent job with Samsonov back and Vanacek still, playing a big role there. So, no complaints for me about the Washington Capitals, and their play recently has been absolutely incredible. So they move up onto the list to number 4 here.
Yeah, this was a team that wasn't on our list last week, and I think was only on maybe in the kind of towards the beginning there for a little bit, and then they dropped away. But they find themselves back on the list for you at number 4.
Yep.
We might talk about them a little later.
Yeah, I think we will.
We might.
But number 3, who do you got number 3?
Okay, number 3, I have the Florida Panthers.
Mm-hmm.
And I have them at the same spot that I had them last week. Okay, I had them at number 3, and I kept them at number 3 because I think they've still continued to play well. They're still continuing to put wins up there. Bobrovsky is looking better. Okay, so he's starting to put wins together as well and starting to play better.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I think that's why I have Florida there at number 3. They're 19-6-4. They're still playing against the top teams, against Tampa Bay, Carolinas, and they're winning.
Yep.
So who do you got for your number 3 team?
Same
Mr.
team.
John? Oh,
Florida Panthers, 19-6-4 on the year. Very, very competitive, top of the Central Division.
Yep.
And Florida's hanging right in there. They've done a really good job. They've won 19 games already this year. They're past the halfway point of their season, and they're right up there competing with the best in the division and the best in the league. So Florida, to me, cannot, be really, taken off the list or anything like that, not even really moved down that far. They're a top 3 team right now, in my opinion.
Exactly. It's kind of funny, but we both had Florida at number 3 this week.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
And last week I had Florida at number 3, and you had Florida at number 4.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there you go. All right, so we both covered our number 3 team. Who is your number 2 team on the top shelf power rankings of the week?
Carolina. I have the Carolina Hurricanes up at number 2, 27-2 on the year. Another 20-win team. I mean, if you're at 20 wins already at this point in the season, you're going to win a lot of games this year. I mean, you're looking at, winning easily over 30, and out of a 56-game season, you are winning a large majority of your games, and that's why I put Carolina one spot over Florida, just because they've got that one more win.
I'm with you. I agree.
I mean, this Carolina team is one of the most complete teams in the league, in my opinion. Not only do they have a great coach in Rod Brendamore, but when you look at just their lineup, they're stacked on defense. They're extremely talented up front with a lot of young talent. They also have some good veteran pieces mixed in there. Jordan Stahl being one of the bigger ones. Jesper Fast as well came over in free agency from the New York Rangers. So they've got that veteran influence in there. They've got the young talent. They're very deep. They've got 4 lines that they can roll on a night in and night out basis. The only question really with Carolina is their goaltending, but Alex Nedeljkovic has come in this year and had a phenomenal season and really his first full year as an NHL goalie. So Nedeljkovic has looked awesome, and Mrazek's been out, and they haven't missed a beat without Peter Mrazek. And
exactly.
Nedeljkovic looks like he's making a case to potentially be the long-term starter for this team. So,
Mrazek,
yeah, honestly, and Reimer and Mrazek are both up at the end of this year. One of them's not coming back because Alex Nedeljkovic is going to be an NHL goalie for the foreseeable future. So, I got Carolina up at number 2. This team is right up there with the best in the league, and they're going to be a real threat come playoff time.
I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that. But some of the deciding factors was goal differentials for me on some of this. So that's kind of why I had Florida a little bit more ahead of Carolina in my rankings. But you have Carolina at number 2. I had Carolina at number 4. My number 2 team for the power rankings, top shelf power rankings this week, is the team that you have at number 4, which is the Washington Capitals. I believe that they have just come on. I mean, they're 9-1-0 in their last 10 games, and they have just gotten to the point where they have 42 points now and are now leading the East. Okay. And that, to me, that's when you could come out and lead the East like that. Okay. That, to me, is going to put you number 2 on the list as far as I'm concerned. And you're right. Every time Alex Ovechkin steps out on the ice and scores, it's a record.
Yep.
Right. The goalie situation has played out really well there. The fact that Peter Laviolette was kind of handed the keys to the kingdom there a little bit, with a good veteran team that has some Alex Ovechkin on it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And, oh, by the way, here, go try to take these guys to a cup. He seems to be doing a pretty good job of wrangling them guys around. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so we'll see what they do in the playoffs, because that's where Reardon really fell short, was in the playoffs. And I have a feeling that Peter Laviolette, given the fact of how many Stanley Cup finals he's been to, that he'll probably get more out of this team than Todd Reardon was able to.
It might be a slightly different story, I think, maybe.
Yeah. It's funny that Laviolette's taken the Hurricanes, the Flyers, and the Predators all to the Stanley Cup Finals.
Yeah.
And now he has a chance to do it with Washington.
Yeah. And what's really amazing is that he did it with Carolina and won.
Yeah, he did win. He won in 2006 with Carolina. He unfortunately lost the other 2, but he did have a cup win under his belt.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, look, I think that was a good position for Laviolette to go to. Yeah, and I think
absolutely.
Washington has not really shown any signs of weakness per se. I mean, their goaltending has been good. Now Tom Wilson is slated to come back here in another couple games.
Yep.
Right. Okay.
Yep.
So that's almost like a trade deadline for them.
They get Wilson back, who's in a top 6 forward. So they're just going to have him reinserted right back into the lineup. And they've played great without him.
I mean, right?
Look at how they've played without him. They're 9-1-0 in their last 10. We're going to be talking about them in a couple of segments from now.
You think maybe? So that's who my number 2 team is for my top shelf power rankings this week. All right, my man, lay it on me. Give me your number one.
The Tampa Bay Lightning.
Well, go figure.
I mean, who else but the Tampa Bay Lightning? Most wins in the league with 21, leading the league in points. They're 21-6-2. They're the best team in the league. I mean, I don't have much else to say about Tampa Bay other than they're the best team in the league, and they have a chance to get even better when the playoffs start when Nikita Kucherov comes back. So
hey, question for you, my man. Who do you think my number 1 team was?
The Tampa Bay Lightning.
Well, there you go. The Tampa Bay Lightning. Gosh. We talked about them with the fact that they've got a goaltender that's won 10 games in a row.
Yep.
The fact that they're getting Kucherov back at the playoffs is that right there is like you have the best right winger in all of hockey coming back.
Yep.
Up against or with one of the best centers in Stamkos. Gosh, and then you pair him up with CC and everybody else they got on the freaking team. It's like this team is stacked.
They're loaded.
They've got 106 goals for and 69 goals against.
Wow.
Now that is getting it done.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
They're incredibly good goal differential.
Wow. Okay. So we can't gush enough about this team, I guess, huh?
No, I mean, I think there's just a clear-cut best team in the league, and it's the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Now, I want to address the fact that there was a certain particular team that wasn't on this list.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you know what I'm talking about, don't you?
Yeah, they haven't played all that well recently, and they've been on this list like every single week, I think, that we've done this show.
Uh-huh.
And they're not this week.
That's
and
right.
Their lead in the division is shrinking and shrinking quickly.
Very quickly. And we're talking about Toronto Maple Leafs here.
Yeah.
And, they've only gone 5-5 here in their last 10 games.
Yeah, they're a 500 team in their last 10, and it's not like the more I see the North Division, the more I'm like, it's not a great division, and that doesn't mean it's not competitive because it's a very tight division. There's a lot of good races between the teams, but I think when you compare the North to everyone else, it's not a great division. Like if they were playing teams from the Central or if they were playing teams from the East, I don't think some of those North teams would not have nearly as good of records as they do.
Oh, I agree. I agree 100%.
Including the Toronto Maple Leafs would not have this many wins if they were playing different teams.
I have to agree with you on that because here's a good one for you. And Toronto Maple Leafs and the Edmonton Oilers are tied in points. They both have 40 points. So that big lead that Toronto opened up at the beginning of the season.
Toronto had like an 8 to 10 point lead, I think, at one point.
It's gone.
It's gone, and Winnipeg's right there as well.
Yeah, they're only 2 points back.
Yeah, Winnipeg's right there too. So you've got Toronto, Edmonton, and Winnipeg now all within striking distance of that first spot. And Toronto was running away with this division.
They were.
Just 3 weeks ago, Toronto was running away with this division.
They were making it look too easy.
Yep.
Where they were scoring 7-1, 6-1, 6-2, whatever. Right now they're losing to Calgary right now. Okay, so
hey, Calgary's played a heck of a lot better under Daryl Sutter.
Yeah,
Calgary might be coming for a playoff spot there.
Yeah, well, look, anything can happen. There's 20-odd games left.
Yeah, there's still plenty of time.
I mean, they're 9 points back.
Even Vancouver is playing a lot better now than they were dreadful to start the year, but Demko's playing it really, really well, and Vancouver's playing a lot better recently.
Agreed. Yeah, I agree. All right, man. Here comes another segment that we really both like.
This is a fun one. I'm going to try and keep it quick, but this is a fun one.
It is because it's tough to be quick because this is so tough. There's so many games to choose from. This is our best game of the past week.
Yep.
And John and I like to sit down, and because we both watch a lot of hockey, and we try to pick out the game that we felt was the most exciting game, the most awesome game, the best game that we felt to watch last week was. So, John, why don't you go first and give us your best game of the last week that you felt was the best game?
Yeah, well, you guys know me. What are some things I love in hockey? 1, fights, awesome. 2, comebacks, love comebacks. I'm a huge sucker for comeback games. This game on Wednesday night had it all. The San Jose Sharks versus the Vegas Golden Knights.
Oh, yeah.
Wednesday night, the 17th, St. Patty's Day. This was a late game that night, but Vegas comes all the way back from 3-1 down. San Jose gets up to a 3-1 lead in that game. Vegas comes all the way back to win it 5-4 in regulation. And walk out of there with the 2 points. It was also a very physical game. There were 2 fights in the game, a bunch of scrums. Nice. The fights were between players that do not fight very often. Mark Stone, Tomas Hertl, Jonathan Marchessault, and Logan Couture fought. Like, not guys that ever drop the gloves. The rivalry between the Sharks and the Golden Knights is right at the top of some of the best rivalries in the league. Where it has been for the past 2 years now. And this was a tremendous hockey game. And you had it all. You had goals, you had fights, you had hits, physical play, scrums, and a huge comeback win for the Vegas Golden Knights to pick up the 2 points. So that was my best game of the week.
Can't argue with you on that, man. That was actually one where I had watched the condensed game of that one. And I was like, wow, man, this is... Wow. Oh, wow. Oh, hey, fights. Hey, I like fights. Oh, hey, cool. Yeah. Oh, did you see that hit? Oh, did you see that hit? Yeah, man, I'm with you on that because I really agree with you on that. This was a tough game to not choose. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I'm not trying to be a homer here on this one either because I could have picked this one and there was quite a number of other games I could have selected.
Yep.
But I selected the Flyers versus the Rangers on the 15th of March. Okay. Because to me, this was like exactly what you were talking about. The only difference was that there was no fights, and it wasn't quite as physical as I would have probably have liked it to have been. But the Flyers came out and scored the first 2.
Yep.
And then the Rangers came out and scored the next 3.
Yep.
Right. And then it was back and forth until we got to overtime.
Yep.
Right. And so that's the kind of stuff that I like to see.
Yeah. Back and forth is always fun.
Exactly. And especially when you get a team that was a little bit on their heels and weren't necessarily expected to win. And, and they came out and scored those first 2 goals and the Flyers looked really good.
Yep.
And then the Rangers just came right back and scored 3 unanswered goals. And then the Flyers came back and tied it up. There was power play goals. There was, there was 5-on-5 goals. There was a lot of great attempts. It was just a good game all the way around. I mean, when you look at games that the Flyers have won, James Van Riemsdyk has been a huge factor in those games, and he was a huge factor again in this game.
Yep.
Okay. He scored the first goal, and that set the tone, I think, right there. So that's why I thought this was a good game because it was back and forth, and the Rangers played really, really well. And then in overtime, it was the Flyers that prevailed. So that was what my best game of last week was. The Flyers versus the Rangers on the 15th. Flyers win in overtime 5-4.
Yeah, that was a heck of a game for sure, and certainly a lot better than the one Wednesday night.
Well, if you're a Flyers fan and you watched that game, God bless you.
I picked the wrong night to stream Flyers Rangers, but
yeah. Here's the sad thing. I watched that whole game. I mean, I was kind of in a pain day. Yeah, I know. I was kind of in a pain day that day, and I was like, okay, I have some Flyers Rangers to kind of cheer me up, and it
wasn't a cheer up, that's for sure.
No, it wasn't. But kudos to the Flyers for turning around after getting shellacked.
They won on last night. That was a big win for them to come back and get 2 points after,
especially against the Islanders, who's one of the best teams in the East right now, who might be falling off a little bit because of the loss of Anders Lee, but well, hey. So that was what my game of the week was.
Yes, those were our games of the week, and now that brings us on to our next segment, 3 stars of the week, where we each pick our 3 stars of the week in the NHL. This is always a lot of fun. Steele, if you want to go first, just kind of just go through 3, 2, 1. Who are your 3 stars this week?
Okay. You know how we love to pick those obscure players, and you know how we love to give credit to where guys that don't usually get a lot of credit, right? So I hope I don't butcher this guy's name.
Here we go. I'll fix it if you do.
Okay. He's from Nashville.
Yes.
Okay. Calle Jarnkrok.
Calle Jarnkrok.
Okay.
Actually, Jarnkrok, yeah.
Calle Jarnkrok.
Yeah.
All right. From Nashville Predators. I knew I was going to get it wrong. Oh, well, I tried.
I'm still like, I say his name different, I think, like every other time I say it.
Jarnkrok?
Calle Jarnkrok, yeah.
Okay. Okay. I like the way I said it better. Calle Jarnkrok. Whatever. Calle from the Nashville Predators, he played 3 games this past week. We go from, Saturday to yesterday or today?
Yeah.
Saturday. Yeah, okay. So
the past week. So from last week's show through today is what I do.
It's usually 3 or 4 games. So
yeah.
Calle played 3 games. He had 3 goals, 4 assists for 7 points. He's a +4 rating. He had 2 power play points and a game-winning goal.
There we go. That's quite the week. Not a guy that
quite the week, especially from Nashville.
Yeah, not an offensive team, and Jarnkrok's not exactly a guy that puts up huge point totals to begin with. So
exactly.
For him to have 7 points in 3 games, that's a really nice week.
That's a star. That's a 3rd star of the week as far as I'm concerned. Okay, and Nashville really hasn't had that much to cheer about lately either.
No.
No. Well, we're giving them a little bit of love. All right. Okay.
Yep.
All right. This next one here, I don't have any problems pronouncing this guy's name here. Number 2 star of the week is Mikko Rantanen from Colorado. 3 games played, 3 goals, 4 assists, 7 points. He also had 2 power play points, and he also had a game-winning goal as well.
Nice.
This guy, look, Colorado has, now that they're healthy, now that they're back, they're getting their legs underneath them. They're starting to roll.
Yep.
Starting to roll. And man, and this is one of the guys where it's rolling from. Okay. And he is just, every game he's doing something. Every time he's making plays, he's doing the right things. You know what I mean?
Yep.
He's also a plus player. He's also getting more than 18 minutes a game. So, the guy's doing good.
Mikko Rantanen has been the Colorado Avalanche best player this season.
Exactly.
And he's outplayed Nathan MacKinnon. And going into this year, we all thought it was going to be MacKinnon. Rantanen's outplayed MacKinnon this year.
Exactly. So to me, for those 3 games, man, that's a 3rd star of the week for me on that, or 2nd star of the week for me. All right. We talked about him before. He was one of my top stories of all of the week.
Yep.
And we got to give the number 1 star to Andrei Vasilevskiy, Tampa Bay Lightning goaltender. 2.59 goals against average.
Yep.
.899 save percentage. Not the best.
That's not spectacular.
Not spectacular.
He's still winning.
But he's got 1 assist.
Hey, goalie on the score sheet. Let's go.
And he's got 1 point.
Yep.
Right? But the guy's just got 10 wins in a row.
Yeah, he's winning games left and right.
I mean, we all love goalies. We especially goalies that do shutouts and win multiple games in a row. This to me right here is one of the best goalies in the league, just like we talked about before. So I'm with you on that. This was my number 1 star of the week.
Yep. Cool.
All right, my man. John, you're going to break down your 3 stars of the week. You're going to give us 3 through 1. So have at it, my boy.
Yeah, I'm gonna make this quick because I'm very sure of my picks here. Number 3 is Mika Zibanejad from the New York Rangers. 3 games played, 3 goals, 5 assists for 8 points, a +5 rating. 6 of those points came in the 9-0 beatdown on Wednesday night. He had a hattie in that game, also added 3 assists on top of it. Easily Zibanejad's best game of the season, and he's been playing a heck of a lot better recently. So,
Ever since Panarin's come back.
Yeah, as bad as Mika Zibanejad was at the start of the year, he's starting to get it going, and that makes the Rangers a little bit more dangerous here as they try and climb those standings and get back into at least a playoff conversation.
Yeah.
So 8 points in 3 games. That's over 2 points a game. Obviously, 6 of them all came in one game, but that's a star level night right there. Plus player on top of it. Zibanejad's at number 3. Number 2, I love goalies. We both love getting at least one goalie on our list. Choice was easy for me. Philip Grubauer from the Colorado Avalanche. 4 games played, 4-0-0. This is insane. 975 save percentage.
Wow.
And a 0.55 goals against average.
In 4 games.
In 4 games, which means over the course of 4 games, he was giving up basically half a goal a game. And he stopped 97.5% of the shots that he faced.
Oh my gosh.
And he had a shutout in there. So
yeah, you think?
Grubauer as Colorado is starting to roll, Grubauer is a big reason why, because he had one heck of a week. And,
wow.
a 975 save percentage over 4 games is insane. And the goals against only being 0.55 might be even crazier than the save percentage. So
this was going to be my number 1 star, but because Vasilevsky has had 10 wins in a row, that was the only thing that flipped it over for me.
Yeah, I honestly maybe should have put Grubauer at number 1, but my number 1 star is Conor McDavid again, because his numbers continue to be absolutely absurd. 5 games played this week for the Edmonton Oilers superstar. 4 goals, 6 assists, 10 points, a +3. Edmonton continues to fight for that up top, near the top. Tied for first place now in the North Division.
Yep.
Conor McDavid, 10 points in 5 games. That's 2 points per game over a 5-game stretch, which is his point totals this year have just been absolutely ridiculous. And it's almost getting to the point where this just feels like another day or another week at the office for Conor McDavid. Like, it's crazy the numbers that he's putting up. But he's doing it week in and week out to the point where it's not shocking anymore. Like, this is a normal week for Conor McDavid. And I have him at number 1 because it's just absolutely insane what he's doing offensively this season.
Do you know what's funny is that at the end of the year, I'm going to go back and look at all these, and we're going to come up with a number of how many times a Conor McDavid has been on the list of 3 stars.
Almost every episode.
Or every other one, or, something like that. One of us puts him on the list, because you can't just deny the fact that he's got 60 points now, or pert near 60 points, right? He's at 58 points now he has. You know what I'm saying?
Unbelievable.
That's like I'm saying, that this whole season has been nothing but one record after another.
Yep.
So.
Absolutely.
Oh my.
All right.
Man.
Well, there are 3 stars of the week, everybody, and now that brings us to another fun segment. And I'm gonna try and go through this one fairly quickly, but we have the 3 hottest and 3 coldest teams in the NHL right now. This is always fun to look at. You see who's playing really, really well at the moment and who's playing really, really not well at the moment. So, I guess we'll get right into it, Steele. And we always like to do positive first.
Right.
So,
and I'm sitting here, and I didn't even. Because we each do our notes, different times during the day, and then we put our stuff together when we do the show,
Yep.
And I'm just now taking a more closer look at the list of hottest teams and coldest teams. And
all we did was flip flop 2-3. With both lists, we just flip flop 2-3.
We did, yeah. I mean, we got the same teams on there. It was just in different positions. All right. Okay. We'll start with the 3 hottest, smokingest, most explosive teams in the last week. Well, not really last week. We go by the last 10 games.
Yeah.
Right.
I use record in last 10.
Yeah. So each of these teams has had what we feel are the 3 hottest teams over the last 10 games.
Yep.
Okay. So my number 3 team was the Vegas Golden Knights.
Mm-hmm.
They have won 4 in a row. They are 8-2-0 in their last 10 games. And Stone has been playing well. I believe Pacioretty's been playing back in there with them now, right?
Yep.
Okay. And I mean, come on, Fleury is probably going to be up for a Vezina.
He'll be a finalist for sure if this continues.
Least.
Absolutely.
Right. And this team just continues to put wins together, and they just continue to win. And so, I mean, it just goes to show you they 8-2-0 in their last 10 games, 4 wins in a row. So Vegas is my number 3 hottest team so far. The number 2 hottest team for me is a team we were just talking about with a really hot goalie in Grubauer. I got the Colorado Avalanche, 7-2-1. The only reason why I have them a step higher than Vegas is because they've won more games in a row.
Okay.
Okay, so that was the only reason why I had that different there.
Yep.
Because I see why you have them like that because of Vegas winning more games, obviously. But
yeah.
I have the Washington Capitals at 9-1-0 with 6 wins in a row as my number 1 hottest team in the last 10 games.
Yep.
This team just continues to get better, be better, and is better than the teams that they're playing. And what's really scary is that they can just do nothing but get better. They've got a good coach. They've got one of the best players in the league right now in Alex Ovechkin. Every time he steps out onto the ice and scores a goal, it's a record. They're getting Wilson back here in the next game or two. So their young goaltending tandem has worked out really, really well for them. So Washington, my number 1 hottest team right now.
Yeah, so I have the same 3 teams, just a slightly different order, so I'll make this quick. My number 3 team is the Colorado Avalanche, 7-2-1 on a 5-game win streak. My number 2 team is Vegas, 8-2-0 with a 4-game win streak. Like Steele said, I just put Vegas ahead of Colorado because Vegas has 8 wins in their last 10 as opposed to 7. But Colorado does have the longer win streak. So, I mean, that's a coin flip anyway. They're both playing great.
Right.
And I agree. We both have Washington as our number 1 team. I mean, I think that's pretty clear. They only have 1 loss in their last 10. The only team in the league with that. They have 9 wins in their last 10. The only team in the league with that. And they have the longest active win streak in the league at 6 games. So Washington, to me, is clear-cut the hottest team right now. But there are some other teams certainly playing really, really well as well. Vegas and Colorado. This was hard. And Vegas and Colorado certainly are right up there, having great time the past couple of weeks.
Exactly,
as well.
exactly. This was hard.
Yeah.
I mean, every week this gets harder and harder to pick these teams because you get teams now like the Floridas and like the Colorados that they might drop a game, but man, they're just really hot teams.
Mm-hmm.
They've been winning a lot of games and they're playing really well. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So this gets harder and harder every time. So now we go to the chilly end and the coldest teams.
And this gets harder and harder every time because I have to spend significant time thinking about these teams.
Yeah. That's why these are the coldest teams here. And we'll let John go first on this one here. So, John, give us your 3 coldest teams in the last 10 games.
So, number 3, I have the Anaheim Ducks. They're just 3-6-1 in their last 10 games. They did win their last game, though, which got them to number 3 instead of being number 2 on this list. Because they did pick up a win over the Arizona Coyotes last night. But Anaheim, I mean, they're a rebuilding team. It's not like this is unexpected. They've only won 3 games in their last 10. They're not having a good year, but their young players are starting to come in and play bigger roles in the lineup. And again, I've said this a lot about Anaheim. They're not very good right now, but they've got some good young talent there and some good young pieces, and they're going to be good, 2, 3, 4 years down the road. It's just about the rebuild process, but right now they're not winning a lot of games this season. They're at number 3. Number 2, this is a bit of a surprise because overall they've had a really good year this year, but the Chicago Blackhawks. This has not been a good last little stretch here for Chicago. They're just 3-6-1 in their last 10 games, and they've lost 3 in a row now. So Chicago is definitely hitting a little bit of a rough patch here. They're still holding on to 4th spot in the Central, and they are still in a playoff position as of now. But Dallas and Columbus are starting to kind of make a little bit of a push back to being in the conversation for that 4th spot. So Chicago needs to get things back on track here because, we've talked about so much on on this show and on my channel and all of that about what a great surprise Chicago has been this season and how well they've played. This has not been a great last little stretch for them, and they're starting to lose ground in the Central. So they're at number 2 on my list. 3-6-1 is not going to get you in the playoffs if you're the Chicago Blackhawks. They've got to get things back headed in the right direction.
That's for sure.
But that leaves number 1, and this was an obvious choice. I think everybody before the show even started knew who this was going to be, the Buffalo Sabres. They have not won a game, not only in their last 10, they have not won a game now in their last 13. They have lost 5 straight in regulation. They've lost 13 straight overall. They're 0-9-1 in their last 10. Wow. And I'm not gonna pile on here because Buffalo and everything's been beaten to death about them. They're not good. They're the coldest team in the league. They're the last place team in the league. And please, somebody
guaranteed a top 3 draft pick.
Yeah, please make the Buffalo Sabres better. Somebody.
Yes, but I think we addressed some issues, and we addressed some things, and we said some things that could potentially get them to that point. Mm-hmm. Look, they have some young talent that's coming up through, and they have some pieces on the team. Look, this team does have some talent.
Yep.
They just need the right coach, the right goaltender, the right defense, the right culture, the right... Oh, I'm sorry.
A new owner.
A new owner? Okay, anyway. All right. Now, funny how you mentioned you have Anaheim number 3, Chicago number 2, and Buffalo number 1 for your coldest teams. My coldest teams are... Number 3 is Chicago. And the reason why I have Chicago at number 3 is because they are in a playoff contention. Mm-hmm. They are still 4th place in their division, and they still are considered in the playoffs. They're just kind of hitting a rough patch of spot here. Okay, that's kind of why I have them at number 3, because I put Anaheim at number 2.
Yep.
Because they're 3-6-1 in their last, but they even though they did win one, Anaheim
they're out of playoff contention.
Yeah, they're not even, that's not even a thing. And then obviously Buffalo at number 1 too as well. How about this? This is another week now where we can say congratulations to Detroit Red Wings and Ottawa Senators for not being on the coldest list.
Yeah, they've both actually played pretty well. They're very competitive teams. Yeah. They're stealing wins here and there. I'm impressed. Like Detroit and Ottawa, given where they're at in the rebuild process, given what their expectations were heading into this season, have been better than I thought, and they're actually playing pretty well. I mean, they're obviously not going to win a ton of games. They're not going to make the playoffs, but they're not playing poorly. And I think there's a lot to be said in that, and they're headed in the right direction. Those are 2 rebuilding teams headed in the right direction.
Agreed. Okay. One of our next favorite sections, and this is something we just like to have a little bit of fun with.
Oh, yeah. We have a lot to do, so we're going to have to lightning round again.
You got it. So lightning round, game picks for Saturday. Now, we try to pick the games, who we think's going to win and who we think's going to lose for this coming Saturday. But first, I'm going to give us a breakdown of what we did from the week before. Mm-hmm. So, New York Rangers versus Boston. That was a Boston win. I'll tell you what, how about if I just do this? For last week, John, you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You were 8-4 last week.
Wow, that's probably my best week of the year.
Best week so far, right? I was 6-6. Okay, so
500.
Right, 500. So now you're 42 for 34 on the season.
Yep.
Okay, and I am 35 for 41.
Okay.
I'm not doing so good.
No, not a great record, but we still have half a year to get it back on the right side of 500.
As long as I stop picking Saturday games, I'm good.
We have a lot of Saturday games to pick here.
I know, and apparently because I can pick them on the Perlo show all week, I just pick the games and the scores, and I'm a savant. But when it comes to these Saturday games, wah wah wah. All right. So let's get into it here.
Yeah.
These are the Saturday night matchups. These are the games that we feel who's going to win, who's going to lose. The first game on the list is the Pittsburgh Penguins versus New Jersey Devils.
Pittsburgh, they don't lose 2 in a row to the Devils.
Nope. I agree with you on that. You heard that first. I am picking Pittsburgh.
Oh, we can cross out the next one. That's postponed now.
Yep. So don't have to worry about that.
Bye-bye Boston and Buffalo. That's not happening.
Right. So don't have to worry about that one. How about the Nashville Predators versus the Florida Panthers?
Florida, they won't lose 2 in a row to Nashville.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna have to go with you because Florida just is too good.
Yep.
And yeah, I'm with you. Not gonna happen for 2 games in a row. No. Yeah. Okay. Minnesota versus Colorado.
Colorado, they handily beat Minnesota in the first game, and Minnesota was really hot going into that game. Didn't matter. Colorado still handled them. Colorado's healthy now. Makar's back. Byram's back. Everyone up front is fairly healthy again. Coffer came back. So
yeah.
Avalanche, it's hard to vote against the Avalanche now that they're healthy.
I'm with you, and I have to take them too. In spite of how well I think Minnesota's been playing, and what they've been able to do up there in the last couple of games that I've watched of Minnesota, they've been really good, playing really well. Zuccarella's got that team flying around. Anyway, but I got to go with you on that, Colorado on that for sure.
Yep.
Okay, Chicago versus Tampa Bay Lightning.
Can I know who the starting goalie is for the Lightning, please? Because if Curtis McElhaney's in net Chicago, if Andrei Vasilevsky's in net Tampa, I'm going to say Tampa either way.
Yeah, I'm going to do the same thing because I'm with you on that.
If McElhaney's in net, then Chicago probably wins that game. But I'm going to take Tampa Bay, assuming that Vasilevsky's playing.
Got you. I'm with you on that too. This one here is probably going to be a real easy one.
Rangers have been playing better.
Okay, so you picking them over the Washington Capitals?
No.
Right.
I think this is going to be a close game, though. This game might go to
one of those overtime games.
Yeah, this is going to be a close game, I think. But I am taking the Capitals.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You're not playing Philadelphia every night here in New York. Okay, so sorry. Speaking of Philadelphia, New York, we got Philadelphia versus New York Islanders again.
Yep.
What do you think?
Philly's season is hanging in the balance here. And the Islanders have not played well without Anders Lee. And they've lost a couple in a row. Lee is not coming back.
One of them to Philly.
I'm going to take the Flyers here. This has to be desperation mode for the Philadelphia Flyers because they cannot lose any more ground in the East. So I'm going to take Philly.
When I initially saw this and before this week, and I saw that these couple games were coming up here against the Islanders, and after that 9-0 loss to the Rangers, I've heard some things and some stuff and whatever, and I'm like, oh man, gosh, I really feel that this is a very key, important series for the Flyers as well, and I'm picking the Flyers for this game. So I'm going Flyers on this one too. Columbus Blue Jackets versus Carolina Hurricanes.
Carolina. Yeah. Didn't Columbus win in overtime the last time they played? Either way, Carolina. The Carolina won't lose 2 to Columbus, and I just don't trust this Blue Jackets team at all.
I don't either, and I think they're going to continue their downward spiral. Columbus Blue Jackets. I think they've, trying to do this fast. So
yeah.
Dallas versus Detroit.
Detroit stole the last game. I don't think they're going to be able to steal both though. So I'm going to take Dallas.
Okay. I'll take Detroit.
Ooh, here we go.
Why not? just so we can throw a little bit of a difference in there, just so I can lose one game.
Oh, we might have some differences coming up here.
Yeah, maybe not. Okay, Vancouver versus Montreal.
That's tough to say.
It is. This is a coin flip.
Vancouver.
Because both teams are fairly well matched. Both teams are coming into the season here kind of with the same kind of thing. So,
All right, so I just pulled up the scores from tonight. I'm cheating a little bit. Vancouver just beat Montreal tonight.
I see it in overtime.
Yep, in OT. Vancouver's playing a lot better as of recently. Montreal still very even since the coaching change, still very I'm gonna. I have trouble picking Vancouver to take both games though. Vancouver. Canucks are playing well right now. Give me the Canucks.
All right, I'll take Montreal then.
Okay.
I mean, I need to lose another one anyway. So every time I pick Montreal, they freaking lose. Oh well. It's a good thing I don't put any money on this stuff. And by the way, don't take any of these to heart. This is just for fun.
Yeah, I'm not good at picking, so.
Yeah, right. Please don't take any of these to heart. Okay, Calgary versus Toronto.
I really like the way that the Flames have played under Daryl Sutter.
Thank you.
With the exception,
That's who I'm picking.
With the exception of the Wednesday night beatdown against the Oilers, where they got beat 7-3, and it was a nothing game. Every other game under Sutter, the Flames have been really competitive and looked a lot better. I'm going to take the Flames.
So am I, for those exact reasons. And because I also think, too, that Toronto has kind of they're tied now with Edmonton, so their lead is depleted. And the other teams are starting to catch up, and they're starting to lose games now.
And
you know
confidence.
What I mean? Exactly. So I'm with you. I like Calgary. I think Calgary matches up better now against Toronto than what they did with the old coach because of what Sutter's doing. So I'm with you on that, Calgary. All right. Next game is Arizona versus Anaheim.
Anaheim just beat the Coyotes. I don't think they can do it twice though. I'm gonna take the Yotes, Arizona in that one.
Okay. I'll take Anaheim. What the heck?
Worth a shot.
I mean, the two bottom dwellers. Does it really matter?
Yeah.
So that's why I don't care. Like I said, this is all for fun.
Yep.
Oh gosh, I hate this matchup. St. Louis versus San Jose. I can never pick this.
This has been a tough one for the Blues this year, but the Blues are getting players back. They've had a number of guys. Bozak's back. Jaden Schwartz is coming back.
Yeah.
Tarasenko's been back for a bit now. I'm going to go Blues. I think a healthier Blues team should be able to handle the Sharks.
Okay, I'm going to stop the bloodletting and go with John on the Blues. Because, I mean, obviously the guy knows how to pick games, so I'm just going to follow. No, I'm just kidding. But I agree, though. The Blues are coming back, getting players back, even though San Jose has looked better of late.
Yep.
I mean, they're looking better against Anaheim's. So, okay, but now St. Louis is a much more competitive team.
Yep.
I'm with you on this, but every time I pick this, I always lose it. So I figure I might as well go with the GOAT. If the GOAT says St. Louis, go with the GOAT. So I'm going with St. Louis. All right, last game, Winnipeg versus Edmonton.
This is one of those toss-ups. I mean, these two teams are right there next to each other, fighting for playoff positioning. I'll tell you what, though, Edmonton, they looked really lethal in that Wednesday night game against the Flames that they won 7-3.
And they're now tied for the lead.
I'm going to take the Oilers in that one.
Me too.
I think Edmonton's a dangerous team now. And if Mike Smith keeps playing well in goal, they have potential to win that division.
Look, you're talking about Conor McDavid, who's on our 3 stars of the week every week.
Yep.
You're talking about the next guy, Leon Draisaitl, who has been on the list occasionally. You know what I mean? And the number of points that this team has put up, and the way Mike Smith has been playing. Yep, I'm going with Edmonton on that one as well, too, my man. So there you have it.
There are picks for this Saturday's games. We'll see how we do.
Best of luck to you.
Hopefully another week over 500. I would love to go 8-4 again, or I don't know how many exactly games that was, but whatever, something close to that is perfectly fine with me. But that's going to bring us to this segment, and we're going to finish things up here with Games of the Week, and then obviously Prospect Watch to finish it out. But first, got to thank our sponsor, Canine Country Club Resorts, and give them a huge thank you for their support here for everyone at Steel Flyers and everything that they do for us, and their sponsorship of this show, as well as the website and everyone that's a part of Steel Flyers All Sports Network. So here's a word from our sponsor, CCC Resorts, and we'll be back to finish things up with the Games of the Week and Prospect Watch after this.
Greetings. This is Steel Flyers from the Steel Flyers All Sports Network, and we have two very special guests. We are delighted to be joined by Tracy Musser and Nicole Howard from the Canine Country Club Resorts. Tracy and Nicole are both managers for CCC Resorts and work at the Windsor or at the club, one of two locations, both in Mannheim, Pennsylvania. Congratulations on your 30th year anniversary of being in business. Let me start off by saying this. Steel Flyer stands behind this company 100%. Taking care of Steel Flyer's furry friend for the last 2 years now, and they are a one-stop shop for everything your furry friend needs. In fact, let's find out what our friends at CCC Resorts offer. Nicole, how are you today?
Good. How are you?
Doing great, thank you. What are some of the great boarding services that you guys offer, and what do we have to do in order to get our furry friends taken care of when we are unable to travel with them?
Well, we like to bring everybody in for a tour first. That way they can see the behind the scenes, they can see where they stay, they can see where they play, and then we explain all of the fun things that we can add on to their reservation, whether it be one of our packages, either a nature walk, a ball time, or even a cuddle time.
Oh, wow, that sounds great. Boy, it sure sounds like a resort to me. So how are you today, Tracy?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Tracy, tell me, is it true that you guys have both an indoor and an outdoor pool at the Windsor location?
It is true. We've got one of each, so we're able to offer year-round swimming. The indoor pool is a great option for dogs who are swimming for therapy or rehab. It's got that sloped entry so they can wade into the water. Our outdoor pool is a little bit larger, and it's 4 foot deep the whole way across. And both of them are saltwater pools, so it's really easy on the dog's skin and coat.
Wow, that's very awesome. So then during the summer months, you have a much deeper pool outside and then a sloped entry shallow pool indoors for the dogs. Tracy, tell the folks how we can get some pool time.
Well, the first thing everyone does is come for an intro swim. We use that time to make sure the dog is comfortable in the water. We make sure they know how to get out of the pool safely, and we go over all the pool rules and etiquette with the clients as well. After that, they're able to schedule private appointments where they have the pool to themselves, or they can invite friends and have a whole group swim going on.
So after a dip in the pool, then it would have to be off to the groomers, right? I mean, our furry friends cannot go out looking their best. Nicole, what are some of the great services your top-notch groomers provide?
Our groomers, they specialize in full service grooms. We can do the basics, whether it be just a bath and a brush out or a blowout. Or for the extra pampered pooches, we can do nail dremels, we can do deodorizing soaks, and also facials.
Wow, man, that sounds like a resort if you ask me. Tracy, I know one of the main programs here at CCC Resorts is the WAGS program. The Steel Flyers dog is enrolled in this program. So why don't you tell the folks what is involved in this and how they can get enrolled?
Yeah, the WAGS program is our primary daycare option at the Windsor. It's designed to be a structured program for people who are looking for a set routine for their dog. They all come on the same days each week, which allows them to have set friends, and we know exactly what's going on with each group. So we do a little bit more activities, and we build more into their daily routine there. But we've got other daycare options as well for people looking for a little less commitment. We do an hourly care where you can drop them off and just pay by the hour. We also do a day stay option, which is great for the dogs that prefer human friends instead of making friends with other dogs. And then we have a traditional daycare option as well if you're looking for the occasional outing for your dog.
Wow, there you have it. A full-service groomer, a daycare program, and an indoor and outdoor pool. What more could you ask for? Sure seems like CCC Resorts has everything covered. Remember, DOG, depend on God.
And we are back, everybody. Time to wrap up the show here. We've got 2 segments to go. First up is Games of the Week, where we look ahead to the upcoming week in the NHL and pick out which we think are going to be the best games to watch this coming week and the best matchups in the league. So we might as well get right into it. Steele, if you want to go first, just go through your 5 best matchups for this week in the NHL.
Okay. I know there's some series of games that are going to be played from some of these teams. So, but I only picked the one game that I felt would be the game to watch for that particular set of games.
Yep.
Okay. So for my number 5 game to watch is hopefully this game comes off. This was obviously done before the breaking news happened today about Boston. So, but for my number 5th game, I had the Islanders versus the Bruins for the 25th.
So Thursday's game could potentially still happen.
Okay, so if it does, that's going to be definitely a matchup to watch, because these teams here are definitely, in the hunt in the East and trying to make a go of it here for playoffs and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
So this, to me, I think is going to be one of those games to watch. This was before I knew what was going on with Boston. So my number 4 game is the game played on the 23rd of March is the Florida Panthers versus Chicago Blackhawks. I know that they play again on the 25th, but I really think that this first game for this little series here is going to be the one to watch.
Okay.
My number 3 game of the week to watch is Edmonton versus Montreal. This is going to take place on the 22nd. I really feel that Edmonton is starting to get their stride, and I really feel that Montreal is still trying to fight, and especially if how they play against Calgary, you know what I mean? And some of the other games that are against Vancouver, you know what I mean? If Montreal can win that second game against Vancouver, I think this game here, going in here to this one against Edmonton on the 22nd is going to be a good matchup.
Yep.
My number 2 game of the week is the Florida Panthers versus Tampa Bay Lightning. This is going to be happening on the 21st of March. This is a fight for, top in the division, and it's the 2 Florida teams. So this is like, now we're getting these 2 Florida teams, and they're both relevant, and they're both fighting for the top position. You know what I mean? So
absolutely.
I really feel this is going to be a great game to watch. This is the other one that I think I'm really looking forward to the most as well. And this is going to be one of the games that we talked about in our Saturday night matchups. And that's the Calgary Flames versus the Toronto Maple Leafs. And I really feel that Calgary is going to take this game. And I want to watch this game because I think that Calgary's going to be able to punch the big guy in the mouth, Toronto. And Toronto hasn't looked all that good lately.
Calgary won tonight.
Yeah, exactly. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Gonna be a good matchup for tomorrow. So that's where my 5 games of the week. So Calgary versus Toronto tomorrow.
Yep. So for me, I've got some good matchups here. Some of the same ones as well. Number 5, I have Edmonton versus Montreal. They play the 22nd, 24th, and 26th. This could be playoff spot on the line for the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah.
Because they are in that 4th spot, not playing all that well right now. And Calgary and Vancouver are coming for that playoff spot. So
yes, they are.
That's a huge series for Montreal in particular. And obviously Edmonton fighting for first place in the division. They're going to want to pick up those points against a lesser team in the standings. So big one there up in the north. 4, I have the New York Rangers versus the Philadelphia Flyers on the 25th. And this is simply a revenge game.
I'm with you on this, man, because I had a hard time with this one too.
This is a revenge game for the Philadelphia Flyers. This will be the first time they play since this past Wednesday, when we all know what happened. Absolutely embarrassing 9-0 loss for the Flyers. This is a chance for them to pay the Rangers back. And I think that they might come out with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder trying to pay the Rangers back. So I think that's going to be a really fun one to watch.
It's going to be also in Philly this time.
Yes, that's big too.
So that's going to be big too, yeah.
Yeah. Number 3, I have Florida and Chicago. They play on the 23rd and the 25th. This is just a huge Central Division matchup. You've got Florida, who's trying to stay up there with the Tampa Bays and the Carolinas, and you have Chicago, who's been slumping recently and is trying to stay in that 4th spot. So this is a huge game for both of those teams. At number 2, well, this was supposed to be 2 games. Now it might only be 1 or none at all, but I have the Islanders and the Bruins. This was going to be a huge series.
Agreed.
Unfortunately, we know that Tuesday's game is postponed, and Thursdays could potentially still happen. I hope it does, because that's going to be a great game. And
much needed for Boston on that one.
Very much needed win for the Bruins in this series against the Islanders, who have beaten the Bruins every time they've played this season. So that was going to be a big series. Unfortunately, we're having some COVID issues there. But my number 1 comes from the 25th. It's Vegas against Colorado. Because Vegas has been at the top of the division for most of this season. Colorado has had their issues, particularly when they've had guys out injured. They haven't been as good, as dominant as we thought that they were going to be. Well, guess what? Colorado's healthy now, and they're starting to look dominant, which for really the first time this season.
Yeah.
So Vegas against Colorado, I think, is going to be the game of the week, and that's the 2 best teams in the West, and I think that is going to be a phenomenal matchup. So those are my games of the week for this week.
Oh, man, I'll tell you what, those are some really juicy games to be checking out there, and some set of games to be checking out there, especially that Edmonton-Montreal games, because I agree. I think those are going to be the set of games that's going to determine whether or not Montreal and or Vancouver is going to make it.
Mm-hmm.
Because let's just say that they, all 3 games, and say Edmonton wins all 3 of those games.
Yep.
That's going to put everybody else behind Edmonton in a much bigger hole now.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, I'm with you on that.
Yeah, those are some huge matchups.
For sure. Here is one of my favorites.
Mm-hmm.
I love this segment of the show. I know you do too, John, because we get to talk about
the future.
The future. And the future is always bright.
Yes.
Right?
Especially with these players that we're talking about.
Oh, my. I think we picked out some good ones this week.
Yep.
Well, we pick out good ones every week. Let's face it.
Mm-hmm.
We definitely do our research.
Well, yeah, that's what I do Friday mornings.
That's what I mean. Yeah, but all right. So, John, give me who your prospect watch is for this week.
Yes, Drew Commesso, goaltender, freshman goalie this past season for Boston University. Just 18 years old. He was drafted 46 overall, in the second round this past draft in 2020 by the Chicago Blackhawks. Nice. And for a freshman goalie, he had a pretty darn good season for Boston University this year in college. He played 10 games. He went 6-2-1 with a .924 save percentage as a freshman in college, and a 2.68 goals against average. Very, very good numbers. You don't see a lot of freshman goaltenders starting in college hockey.
Not at that level.
For him to be the starting goalie of a very good Boston University team shows, what they think of him and the level of goaltender that he is. Also, him being a second-round pick, I think, shows the level of goaltender that he is. It's not like he's a 4th or 5th-round guy. This is a highly touted goaltending prospect, and he had a very good year at Boston University this year. And Chicago, I know, goalies, he's only 18. Goalies, it's usually 24, 25, 26 before you see them in the NHL. Comesso's a guy to watch for down the line, though, because I think there's a lot of potential there. And there's definitely the chance that he becomes a very, very good NHL goaltender. So Chicago fans should be happy about him being in their pipeline for sure.
Exactly, especially with numbers like that as a freshman. That's really good as a freshman goaltender.
Yep.
You know what I mean? When you go from, look, there is that drastic difference when you go from guys playing in high school to guys playing in college.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at that point, it's kind of like boys and men at that point.
Yeah.
Because you're playing against guys that are seniors, that are, 20, 21.
22,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Have already filled out, whatever. So, yeah, I'm with you on that.
Yes.
All right. Well, my prospect this week is a player that won the Big Ten Defenseman of the Year award.
Well, that's always good.
He also happened to have won a gold medal in the World Junior Championships this year. And he was captain of the United States national team that won that Olympic gold medal. He currently plays for the Michigan Wolverines right now. We're talking about Cam York.
Yep.
And we're talking about a left-handed defenseman. He's 20 years old. He was drafted 14th overall in the first round by the Flyers in 2019.
Yep.
This year, he played 24 games for the Wolverines. He had 4 goals, 16 assists, 20 points, and a plus 13. And he was the leader in power play points.
Yep.
Okay. I mean, the guy won defensive player of the year for the Big Ten. That is some pretty elite company, if you ask me.
Absolutely.
And Flyers fans should be overjoyed, elated, ecstatic, passing out. The fact that this defenseman who is bigger than 5'8" and weighs more than 160 pounds and knows how to play defense. What do you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, great kid, great prospect, played really well in the World Juniors. He was selected as the captain of the United States team by his teammates. So this kid's got leadership. He's got he plays defense. He's responsible 200-foot game, and he's able to put the odd goal in and is able to quarterback the power play. So this kid's got it all.
Absolutely, and I think the big thing with him is that he's a two-way defenseman. He's not just an offensive guy. He's not just a stay-at-home guy who's going to play good D but not give you anything points-wise. He is a two-way defenseman that plays every situation all over the ice, and the Flyers particularly could really use that injected into their lineup in the near future.
Right now, actually.
Yeah, yeah.
No future needed about that. That needs to happen right now.
So that's definitely a nice prospect to have for the Philadelphia Flyers.
Yeah, man. Couldn't ignore that. I mean, the fact that he won the Defensive Player of the Year, I couldn't ignore that at all. So.
All right, so there are prospect watch for this week, everybody, and that is going to bring us to the end of episode 12 of the Off the Wall Hockey Show. It's a hockey show for hockey fans, part of the Steel Flyers All Sports Network. We really want to thank you all so much for watching and listening and being an audience here for us. Steel, it was another great show. Thank you so much for being here, and really, really enjoyed this one as always.
You got it, dude. Every time we make this show, it gets better. Every time we do this, we learn more things, and this is the kind of stuff that I would much rather watch. I would much rather watch this than anything else because we talk about the entire league. We cover every team. Even though we both have our favorites, we know you're a Boston fan. We know I'm a Flyers fan. But we're able to look at the NHL objectively and say, this is how we feel and this is what's going on. We use all of our most advanced knowledge. I mean, John is the GOAT. He calls games. He's one of the best in the business right now. And that's why he's part of the Steel Flyers All Sports Network. So thank you very much, John, for all you do, brother. Really appreciate it.
Hey, thank you. This was another great show, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. One last thank you to Canine Country Club Resorts, our show sponsor, and sponsor at Steel Flyers All Sports Network. They do tremendous work. You saw their commercial a couple of times during the show today, and we want to give another huge thank you and shout out to them. But that is going to bring us to the end of this episode. Thank you guys all so much again. Episode 13, lucky number 13, will be next week. And we'll be back next Friday for that one. But until then, you'll probably see us doing some other things around the YouTube world on our own channels and everything. But we'll be back with another episode here of the Off the Wall Hockey Show next Friday night at 8 p.m. at the usual time. And until then, have a great week, everyone, and talk to you all soon.
Yeah, man.